Here's a good one. I hear this one all the time. Should you rent to Section 8 tenants or not? Well, first of all, just as a disclaimer almost, a lot of states are actually passing rules that you cannot say no to Section 8 tenants or government funded or whatever. So in any consideration, always be very cognizant of discrimination laws in your particular state or city or wherever you are. So make sure that you're not, you may even have the best of intentions, but make sure you don't accidentally make a decision that could be perceived as discriminatory. So when I talk about should you rent to Section 8 or not, I'm speaking solely from the logistics. And the unfortunate news is I actually don't have the answer for you, but I can give you some guidance on what to think about. First of all, the Section 8 rules vary between states. And you want to make sure you're up on those because you want to understand the laws that are involved, especially if you end up renting to Section 8, you need to understand all of the logistics that go with that. But even more than like state by state, I work with properties in multiple states all over the place. And I can think of 2 cities right off the bat that these properties that I work with are fantastic. They're great, but they do their best when they're rented to Section 8 tenants. Section 8 pays more. The particular tenant pool in that area, it's almost, I don't even know how to explain it, but like, it's almost like they just generally have more success going with Section 8, which is totally counter to what most of us think. Right? It's like, oh, Section 8, like, oh, I don't want Section 8 tenants. That's not necessarily true at all, and you don't want to assume that it is. So you always want to talk to local people to where your rental property is. Ask them about Section 8. Like, do they have good luck with Section 8? Is there a big tenant pool? What do they recommend, Section 8 or not? Like, again, a lot of states are starting to or cities are starting to mandate that you allow for Section 8, but a lot of them don't require it. So I know in the past I've had some rental properties that we hadn't even really thought about Section 8 just because they weren't really in areas that we would have thought about that. But when we were having problems finding tenants, my property manager said, are you open to Section 8? And I was like, well, sure, and so, you don't want to rule it out, but you want to talk to people, boots on the ground, who have experience with that. And if you're a new landlord or, new investor or whatever, if you're going to be, like I said, if you're going to be managing the Section 8 tenant, you really want to get schooled on what that involves, because there are inspections that need to be done. You as the owner need to perform to a certain level for the housing department, and they will require your tenant to perform to a certain level. So like I said, don't rule it out. Be very careful of discrimination, even if you don't mean to. But talk to boots on the ground people and see what is actually more advantageous, because in some areas, like I said, they have way better luck renting to Section 8 than, they call it market tenants, than market tenants. Sometimes you can get more money. Sometimes it's just a better tenant pool, the whole thing. Other places, maybe Section 8's terrible. You don't know. So make sure you understand that. And then one thing that I learned from my own properties that I was not aware of before I owned my own rental properties is, and this goes for Section 8 or whatever government funded tenant organizations. So I think I had one before. It wasn't Section 8, but it was like Social Security something. So anytime the government is contributing to rent, what I didn't understand, because you hear people all the time saying, oh, well, Section 8 is great. That's very hard to say. Section 8 is great because it's guaranteed income. That is true, and that is a major perk to Section 8. But what I didn't know until I had 2 sets of tenants that were in either Section 8 or similar programs is that Section 8 oftentimes only covers a portion of their rent. So I not so much with Section 8 I've had this problem, but with it, when it was Social Security, quite often I would end up with the payment from the Social Security department or whoever it was, and no tenant payment. Well, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure Section 8 is more strict on their tenants. So if the tenant's not paying, Section 8 is going to get them pretty hard. With this other program, that didn't really seem to be the case. And I ended up kind of in a dilemma. It's like, well, I got half the rent, but what about the other half? And because the housing people were involved and whatever, it was just this very complicated thing. So the part that I didn't know is that oftentimes Section 8 or whichever program doesn't cover the full rent. And that's important to understand because you're going to be getting income from two different sources basically, and only half of that or whatever percentage of that is guaranteed. So again, that shouldn't promote discrimination or any of that, or even really dictate whether you accept Section 8 tenants or not. But, you know, it's just something for your own knowledge, just because I wasn't aware of it. And therefore, because I wasn't aware of that, I wasn't aware of the risk of until it started happening, which was I was suddenly not getting half the rent. Well, great, I was still getting half, but what about the other half? So, you know, Section 8, the answer is it completely depends, and you should really talk to local people who have experience with it, and they can speak more to the specific laws for your state or county or city or whatever. And even it can get down to neighborhood by neighborhood. So there are pros and cons to going Section 8 or market tenants, and to me, they kind of even out. I don't know one solution really outweighs the other in my mind. So hopefully that's helpful for you.